What is happening, gang? It's your boy DBGTX, and we are back today with an actual discussion in regards to, as you guys can see on the screen here playing in the background, JOJO's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle. Now, the thing is, All-Star Battle R, which is coming out towards the end of the year, is a import version of the original All-Star Battle. A lot of people think it's the same game just with extra characters, and at the same time there's just so much more that has been added to the game, that has been added to, you know, the aesthetics to make this game be a totally different kind of fighter in regards to its original counterpart. Its original counterpart definitely has a lot of things that this game obviously overflows into and kind of stays the same, but they definitely went ahead and touched upon a few things. Now, should we be concerned is the first question, because going based off the information given to us in these teasers slash releases and everything else, there's a lot of things that this game can come with and a lot of things that this game cannot and maybe won't come with based off the original All-Star Battle game that we have. But at the same time, back then CC2 didn't have a very well established PlayStation network or, you know, network credibility. Of course, we had the Ultimate Ninja Storms, but again, in an era where gameplay online wasn't, let's say, the biggest thing for anime gaming, that wasn't really a big concentration portion or a big concentrated portion in their aspect at that time, which is something that I could proudly say and know, because I owned almost every freaking anime game that came out, and every time you try to play online, the online was terrible. A lot of online game experience was terrible. Netcode experience has been terrible. EC2 has never had a good network base. They've never had a good network server. I still don't believe that they will have a network server that's good enough to be able to handle, you know, the game load itself. One of the games that I want to point out that has suffered recently, and it was an amazing game, considered, to me personally, I'm considering one of the best arena games to come out recently, is actually CC2's Hinokami Chronicles. Definitely want to address the situation, because the thing is, again, like I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, in an era where online content isn't really the biggest, wasn't the biggest thing in the anime community outside of obviously Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, games that had online gameplay, let's say for example like Saint Seiya, which was big in Europe but not big out here in the United States at the time. Those games was being played out there and people were playing online out there, but then we never got those games out here in a localized fashion, so we weren't able to get that kind of experience. But those people, from their words, they could definitely tell you that the online experience, as far as the lobbies, as far as things like that for those particular games, unless you bought it and, you know, exported it or whatever the case might be, was terrible. It was fucking horrible. Even with them out there in Europe and Japan, a lot of people had a hard time connecting and keeping a server running, because CyberConnect 2 has never ever been good at building lobbies, and that's just something that's been pre-established. Now, can that change for this particular JoJo game, being that it is an import, being that I've seen other companies, for example, I wouldn't put it past them to pull a Gundam Versus, where it's an import, and based off the import they also polish off everything else, including the online gameplay, so that way you don't have such bad experience and whatnot. But at the same time, you know, you always wonder as an anime gaming fan, are they really going to put the effort in that? And yes, that is a major anime gaming concern every single time a new anime gaming and every single time a new anime game comes out. So in that retrospect, you have to go ahead and acknowledge that this game definitely, particularly, could come out with having a terrible netcode upon release. It could get better over time, but CC2 has not, and I repeat, CC2 has not shown us the ability to do rollback netcode. Take it from me. If this game was their first go around in regards to let's try out rollback netcode because this game is older and we're going to be adding new characters and we shouldn't have to do much besides, you know, polish it or whatever the case might be, this would be the perfect game to do it. Ideally, this would be the perfect game to do it in an anime gaming setting. So the next game that they release, already we know and pre-established that they are good to go on the rollback netcodes for fighting games. They're not. Simple as that. They're not. If you've watched any of the FGC channels, including the one I'm watching right now, which is Maximilian Dudes, this is one of Maximilian's older playthroughs of All-Star Battle here on his channel. Kind of a little bit reacting myself. I know I watched it before, but this is where I got it. If you guys want to go check it out, I'll leave the link below in the comment section. But nonetheless, in All-Star Battle, like I said, CC2 is not ready. CC2, I don't believe, will come out with a rollback netcode right now, and I don't think they're trying to implement it anytime soon because we, as the anime fans, don't ask for it as much. We don't care as much because they really don't have something that's sitting over in the FGC community like that. That doesn't mean to say that this game can't land in the FGC community, but look at the situation with Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is an ArcSys game, obviously not a CC2 Connect, CC2 game itself. They don't have rollback netcode, and people have been asking for it for years, right? And they've given Baz Blue rollback. They've given basically, you know, every other game in their arsenal a rollback netcode, but Dragon Ball FighterZ. And the unfortunate thing about it is, it's not that they don't want to, is that they can't, because based off the publisher, i.e. Bandai Namco, they cannot touch the game's network without explicitly having Bandai Namco pay an insane amount of money in regards for that. That's just how it is, because Bandai Namco would have to pay ArcSys for that server and for the pre-established rollback, and to rebuild the game from, and to basically rebuild the game from a point to another. That right there is how and why a lot of these anime games are not getting a rollback netcode, and it's because of that. Because in order for them to get a rollback netcode, they have to, one, build the game from ground up in regards to the network side of things or whatever the case might be, so it could work perfectly. And it costs a lot of money to do. So if this game were to underperform per se, let's say in an example that this game costs $1 million to make, which obviously this game costs way more than $1 million to make. What ends up happening is that if this game only sold 200,000 copies because, you know, out of word of mouth from all the anime tubers, the netcode sucks, the gameplay isn't that good because I like Dragon Ball better, or I like Naruto better, or, you know, I want to go ahead and complain about every little thing that comes up, like I can't have 6 people in the same lobby, or things like that. You understand what I'm saying? Those little complaints that gets built upon all the other bigger YouTubers, when things like that starts coming in, and then this game doesn't touch its mark because it is an import of the original game, so it has to sell more than the original game. That's just that. If it sells somewhere around the same or a little bit more, it doesn't matter, period. It didn't do its job. So as an import, if it doesn't sell or oversell or makes a statement that this game wants a second version of the game or something like that, they're not going to implement something that could cost them millions of dollars for a game that could turn out to be ass in regards to how the anime community looks at it. And like my friend Yaya said, a lot of anime games are cash grabs. That's a big thing, and the companies know it, so they realize that. CyberConnect 2 knows that a lot of the games are cash grabs. Some of their older games, this game in particular, still feels, and I'm looking at the old gameplay. The old gameplay is butter, and when I say butter, I mean like the old gameplay is sloshy. It's slow. It looks slow to me in an era where arena/2D fighters have more pace and more rock to it. This game, it can definitely land in the B tier, C tier, 2D style 3D gaming, arena gaming, based off the fact that right now in its current state of this particular game right here, this current state right here, and this old school one, the pacing is slow. Two, there's just a lot of things that, you know, looks jarred in that sense. You understand what I'm saying? But the game itself could honestly be one of the greatest games, you know, because I played it and I can tell you, like, I liked it for what it was at the time. But currently, right now in 2022, that's not what we are discussing. And we're not discussing what I liked at the time. We're discussing how this game can come forth in 2022 and be something in 2022 and stand out and sell without it being a cash grab. Like my boy Jaya said, there are cash grabs, and this one can be one of those that can turn into it. That they don't add a really good netcode, that they don't add extra stuff to it, because, you know, right now everybody's living off the high of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, obviously Stone Ocean being out there and all that good stuff. And in that retrospect, you have a right, because that's generally what happens with a lot of these games from CyberConnect 2, particularly CyberConnect 2. They give them the handle that, here you go, do this. Now, there's also Dips, who's notorious for doing that as well. But CyberConnect 2 has had quite a few anime IPs where the treatment for them, it hasn't been the greatest outside of Dragon Ball or Naruto and things like that. If you see Kakarot, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot could have been more polished, you know, had way more things to, you know, build upon and so on and so forth. But that didn't happen, which makes the game very bare bone. You understand what I'm saying? Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, as far as the animation, as far as everything else goes, as far as what CyberConnect 2 has, I can tell you right now, they know how to animate a game. They know how to give you an offline experience to make you feel like, yo, that's it. That's what I want. This is what I want. I want to buy this game. I want to play this game. You know, things like that. Like, but at the same time, it doesn't change the fact that the gamer experience could definitely go down, and this game cannot hit his mark, thus not asking for a sequel. Again, like I mentioned, the second thing is gameplay. In regards to gameplay, you want to make sure that the game itself is sped up and it's caught up to its other anime gaming counterparts. Yes, these are JoJo characters. No, they don't move in quote unquote the same fast pace, but at the same time, don't make us feel like we're using humans. Walking around feeling like it's like it's a trot, or, you know, if they're sluggish, if they feel sluggish, people are gonna complain about the characters. They're gonna say, yo, you know, there's something that nobody likes a slow paced fighting game. And that's something that's obvious for anybody who plays 2D fighters, 3D fighters. If the game is slow paced, it's no bueno. It's no bueno. It's no bueno overall. You have to bring in the pace. You have to speed up the game. You have to speed up the movement. Those are things that have to be implemented in this game as far as gameplay in order to be able to make this game a totally different experience. Now, the third thing is, of course, the online. The online lobbies, the online customizations and things like that. So tread carefully. I'm gonna tread carefully these waters, because this is something that I consider more of an aesthetic for fighting games than an actual implementation of a good fighting game. Like all good fighting games don't implement. All good fighting games don't implement it. Don't implement an expectation lobby. That's being brutally honest. Like the last 2D games, 2D fighting games, or whatever the case might be, they have focused on that because of the simple fact that those are things that come with the 2D territory. A lot of 2D games do have a spectators lobby, but 3D games have not been like the biggest ones to do so. Let's go back, because Xenoverse 2, I think, is one of the last games that has a lobby with a 3D game arena, 3D in-game arena that has a lobby in there that you could go ahead and spectate whatever as a 3D arena game. That was, I think, the last game that had a multi-lobby. Jump Force did not have a multi-lobby. What other arena games came out after Jump Force? Hinokami Chronicles, which is brand new, doesn't have a multiplayer spectator lobby. And it's something that I think has to do again with holding the lobby together with the way that they have their netcode set up. And it's terrible. It's terrible practice. Build a better server. Build a better server. Because that's the negative on that. The negative on that is that they're like, well, we don't want to deal with 6 connections at one time the way we have our server set up. So we create a player lobby, which is basically between the two players that are playing against each other, and then the server establishes connection and builds the connection off those two particularly, without having background interference of all the other players that are in there. It sucks, but it's something that, as far as the community goes, or as far as the developers go, they say, I don't know if it's something that we want to implement because the netcode doesn't allow it. It's something that kind of sucks to say, but like the netcodes are ass because of it. So that's really one of the real reasons as to why a lot of the multi-lobbies and spectator modes don't appear in arena games as much. Budget gets thrown into that, but on top of that, it takes away from our gamer experience, because we would like to have a spectator mode for the people who want to do tournaments, for the people who want to host tournament, all that good stuff. And I know it sucks because for those, like my boy Yaya said in his video, and by the way, his video is down below, go check it out. He states there that people want to do tournaments, you have to use parsec, you have to do all this good stuff. Fortunately, it is the case. You have to do all that for some of these games, and I do hope that they do have a multi-lobby, or at least a 3-player lobby where you have a Who's Next, a 4-player, just like JOJOs, Bizarre Adventure, Eyes of Heaven. If they implement an online lobby that at least has 3 players or 4 players, then you could have a spectator mode, where then at that point, as the 3rd player waiting, you could watch the matches, so on and so forth, and that makes it a little bit of a spectator kind of experience. That doesn't take away the fact that we would enjoy thoroughly if we did have 4, 5, 6, player lobbies and whatnot, but I don't think it's really necessary. And I get the point, and I get where they're coming from in regards to the online experience, because they already have as netcode, Cheeks netcode. But it's something that is worth pointing out in this video as to how that works, why it doesn't work for a lot of the developers, and why arena games in particular have gone away and moved away from doing that. And it's unfortunate. Hopefully this game does implement it with more than 3 characters, or more than 2 players, but let's see what happens. Again, it just kind of kills some kind of experience for those who are trying to, host tournaments with their friends and do things like that. On the other end, if you really don't have that many friends locally, or online or whatnot, playing this game, then it really doesn't affect you as much. This is coming from a person who's a YouTuber and a streamer. Before I started doing this gaming content, I had plenty of friends, and I still have plenty of friends that I play video games with. But outside of Call of Duty and outside of Naruto or Dragon Ball, I never had more than eight people at my crib trying to play. Especially not a JOJO's game. I'm just giving it to you guys how it is. I had Tekken. Tekken used to be big. I had like 12, 14 people coming to the house and playing Tekken and things like that at the local level. So at the network level, you meet people online or whatever the case might be, but based off numbers, a lot of people that you interact with online, especially in fighting games, you don't even add them. Like, you play them or whatever, and nobody usually goes into the to add friends after a good match or whatever. We send a GG through the message board or whatever. We say, hey, GG, so on and so forth. And if they feel like, oh man, this guy's actually cool, they send us a friend request. But we never usually have that many people sitting around like, hey, yo, let's go ahead and build a lobby off JoJo and let's do this shit. Let's run this shit all the time. Or a lot of these arena games didn't have that back in that experience, and they still don't have it now. So unless you're a tournament organizer, unless you're a streamer that has a lot of people coming through, or have more than 8, 9 people coming through consistently, or whatever the case might be, right? What are you complaining about at that point and saying, oh, well, I don't have a lot, I can't build a lobby of 6, 7 players or whatever. All my friends can't sit in my lobby. Cool. So for the first quarter, in the first lifespan of the game, you'll have a full lobby. And then when your friends stop wanting to play JoJo with you, or / they don't want to play this shit no more, they got a new game that they want to play or whatever, and you're the only one playing JoJo with 1 or 2 other people, now you have a server that builds extra rooms and extra lobbies and shit like that using unnecessary space. That's the bottom line. That's something that it has to be considered when it comes down to that. And those are things that the developers have thought about, especially in these arena fighters. So that's my take on that. The last thing is the graphical upgrades. Yes, this game was well polished anyway in regards to when it came out. If you've seen Eyes of Heaven itself is amazingly well polished. Even for a 2015 game, Eyes of Heaven is amazingly well polished. So those are genuine concerns that we have on the arena fighters, not just JoJo, but in the overall general arena fighters. And I definitely want to say that it is a good thing that as anime fans, we're making videos and talking about how we're not just going to go ahead and just purchase a game because it has our favorite character. But at the same time, the little things that you could be complaining about, saying like, oh, well, you know, it doesn't have a 6-player lobby, for example, or it doesn't have a replay value button, so that way you could just watch the replay, or you could play the replay, so on and so forth, or look for the replay, you know, and then play it for those who have tournament mode. Those kind of things, I get it. Like the lobby situation, I get it, and that's addressing the whole the video for Yaya. I get that part, but at the same time, there's a development side of things to it that has to be considered, especially when a lot of these games literally nosedive in regards to player base after a while. So that's something that has to be thrown out there. The same thing goes with the kind of game modes that you would get online. I would personally love an online tournament game mode, so that way you can just add people here, and those who are sponsoring this game, for example, don't have to go through the hell of building a parsec and all that good stuff. The one thing that I can definitely tell you is that PlayStation has done amazing wonders in their sharing department, and you may turn around and say, man, that's bullshit. But if you have decent internet and your player base have decent internet or whatever, you literally could see their screen. You could share their screen, and it's been built into the PlayStation since the PlayStation 3 era. The share screen feature, and they've only made it better on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. That doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, it doesn't work. It won't work, because I know there are plenty of times that people don't have the internet to be able to do it. So it may not work. But at the same time, I definitely want to point out that that is there. And for those players that it can work, use it. Especially on the PlayStation 5. Me having a PlayStation 5 immediately allows me to do it. I have never had an issue with game sharing, and I'm trying to tell you that I'm literally sharing stuff with people in the Midwest and people all the way in Italy. Overall, I don't want to go through that. I would love for the game itself to give us, you know, the things that we want, but we're being realistic here. We're being very realistic here. Cost and everything can make and break what goes into a game and what doesn't go into a game. If they're really gonna revamp the game like they said they are, adding new characters, doing some redesigns and certain things, implementing certain other stuff, and building upon that, then yes, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm looking forward to it, and I feel like that's going to be the experience. That it will get an amazing experience. If they don't add all of that, I can easily turn around and tell you guys, well, it sucks. And yes, the game can easily flop. And yes, we may not get a sequel. But if it's just based off certain aesthetics, if they touch everything else and they don't add a multiplayer lobby, don't sit there and think that this game is gonna flop because of that, or because they don't add extra modes. Because right now, Kimetsu no Yaiba without any extra modes is still eating. Any anime game drops a shit ton of their fan base after a while, but as far as the gameplay goes, as far as how the game experience goes, as far as the people and stuff goes, on the PlayStation 4 and 5, there's a lot of people playing Demon Slayer. I literally have 2 streams of Demon Slayer from the past 2 weeks, and I wait no more than 40 seconds, period, to get a matchup, back to back to back to back. That's like me saying, yo, Kill Kill was dead on arrival because nobody liked Kill Kill, which would be totally false. The game wasn't advertised, just like the Black Clover game wasn't advertised, and that ultimately killed those games, period. 2 more characters coming out for this particular game, and then the sequel is more than likely gonna get announced somewhere around the summer. I don't care about the first one. The first iteration of all these video games always does this shit to us, where we only get a limited amount of characters, especially Cyber Connect 2, who's notorious for doing that. You get a limited amount of characters, you get some kind of base gameplay that is efficient, works, and a lot of people experience it, but then everything else is kind of bare bones. Go play Ultimate Ninja 1, Ultimate Ninja Storm. Go play, come on, man. I could go down the list. Go play Budokai Tenkaichi. Every single first iteration of these games always usually come bare bone. So if you're not looking to play online or play versus mode, because that's what they focus the game on, and you want all these extra offline experience or extra little aesthetics and things like that built into it, that's on you. And that's being straightforward, that's on you. But don't tell people that the game is ass, or that the game is boring, or that the game is dead because you no longer play it. The difference between it lacking what you want versus it completely lacking in the content. That's it. That's all I got. If you guys enjoyed the video, please make sure you go ahead and hit the sub, like, the share in that concern. There will be a part 2 coming out to this, and in that particular video, we're gonna address the pros of having a game like this come up, because there's a lot of talks in the community that if this succeeds, there could be some older games that could be brought to the forefront, remastered, restored, that we've been wanting to get for a minute. So in that video, I'm gonna address those kind of games and talk about those kind of games and the pros of having, you know, older yet very good competitive JoJo here. And that's it. That's all I got. Holla at me in the comment section. Talk later. Peace on out.